Good evening. Oh, in 2023, using the word retarded is inappropriate in all settings and does not embody inclusive language. Karen Keys Gamara used a derogatory slang to insult her fellow school board members. I'm not going to argue over that or how someone chooses to insult their own friends, families, acquaintances on their own time. It's up to them. I would like to discuss this being a public forum of elective officials. In order for a new vocabulary word to make the journey in a brain's long-term memory, a person must be exposed to a word in 17 timed intervals. So there's a lot of words that exist in the dictionary, but they're not in people's vocabulary. It's especially not their go-to terms when they become frustrated at the outcome. Because one of the school board members chose to do nothing, most of the school board members chose to do nothing, I'm calling on you now to do something and not be complicit. So I'm not really interested in, don't come out with words on a website explaining your ties to the disability community. Now is the time for action. No one in Fairfax would stand for this type of language from a publicly elected official if it were referring to anything else beside the developmentally disabled community. If you replace any other low-class and hurtful term to a group of people, whether it were race, gender, national origin, or sexual orientation, it would not be tolerated. Several of you have indicated to me that you would support indeed a censure. Now is a chance to do something, especially because many of you seek higher offices. There would be no safe haven for publicly elected officials using the R word. I am sure that you'll remember this the next time you go backslapping your constituents and saying what a great job you're doing. I challenge each of the board members to do the right thing, call for a resignation. If you don't, I'd like to think that the voters in Fairfax will take care of your issues at the polling booths in the next election. Go on formal record by publicly asking for the resignation.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Grace Livieri.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And our two key issues we would like to highlight about the calendar is coming from the feel that the calendar really has forgotten the most important thing, the kids and the welfare. First point we would like to make is the stability. So the calendar should really keep the days off to stable status. The calendar proposal at the moment really has constantly increased the number. 2020, we had 28 days. 2021, we had 30 days. This year, we have 36 days. The proposal goes up to 37 and up to 40 in 2025. That's a 42% increase from 2020 to 25. If we continue this way, we will have a year-round school. At the same time, our neighboring counties that celebrate the same holidays manage to keep it to 25 to 29 days off. Secondly, related to that point, there is really a lot of disruptions because a lot of incomplete weeks. If we look at 2020, Fairfax County had 9 incomplete weeks. 2021 had 11. Now we are getting up to 16. That's a 40% increase, 70% increase, actually, in 5 years in your incomplete weeks. You can look at the neighboring counties. Montgomery has 9, Arlington 11, and Loudoun 12. So that's extremely disruptive. So when you look where the days are located, you can just take a look at the blue 2023 calendar, and it has January, 1 complete week. Then kids come back from the spring break in 2025, 2.5 days at school, 2.5 days off again. There are many of these kind of examples. That really doesn't help kids to build a routine. So in sum, we propose that you will start prioritizing the kids and their welfare. You can do it easily by reducing holidays, combining holidays with teacher week days, or shortening the winter break. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tony Sabio.
Hi, thank you for this time. So I went over and looked at the policy 8612, the new revised policy, and nothing on here is talking about our elementary schools as far as putting security staff or SROs at the locations. I know at the last meeting we had FBI agents speak upon this, and still nothing's happening. So my background, I come from the military, worked in the Secret Service and the CIA. A lot of people here in Fairfax County come from government. They work in installations that have robust security. And our precious kids that we all, regardless of where you stand on the aisle, we all could agree need to be cherished and need to be protected, even our teachers. Inadequate security in our schools is not acceptable. It's not acceptable in the government, it's not acceptable in any aspect. And I implore our school board to revise this policy to include more robust security. Until we get this straight, I'm going to come here every single time and talk about this. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Calvin Dyson.
Good evening. I would like to address what seems to be a systemic problem in Virginia with school administration, faculty, and staff failing our students, and more recently failing its own faculty when it comes to bullying and threats. Falling short of providing adequate and appropriate policies and procedures to keep our children and students safe. My son reported issues with another student to faculty 3 times, all when unreported to administrators, with the final encounter escalating into a more serious situation. At the events, my son notified the substitute teacher of an issue with another student. My son notified the class teacher of the issue with the other student and asked to be moved to another class to avoid the student. On November 30th, the student made an obscene gesture to my son in front of a teacher, and the teacher simply told the student to go to the bus. While waiting for the bus, the student attacked my son and a fight between the two occurred. On December 1st and 2nd, my son served his suspension for fighting. And then on December 8th, that same student made a threat to murk my son, which I found means to defeat, overwhelmingly, beat up, kill, or eliminate. The school system failed my son at least 3 times. There is still no resolution, no contact from district after my request to speak with someone, and it has been 3 weeks since I was supposed to hear of the district's decision. Who is accountable? As a parent, I have taught my sons to let faculty staff know when they're having an issue or problem. A district ignored warnings before a teacher was shot in Newport News. What warning signs are necessary? The plans currently in place are not adequate, so where do we go from here? So I asked the board, who is accountable if this were your child? And I thank the board for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mark Spooner.
Good evening. I have 2 requests tonight. First, I'd ask that you look at the monitor up there, and what you see is the back of my head from the back of the auditorium, so you can't even hardly see who's speaking. When the superintendent gets up in a short while, what usually occurs is you turn on the cameras from the front, you see her smiling face and her engaging personality, whether she has a pencil in her mouth or not. You used to focus the camera the same way during the citizen participation section, but somebody decided to change that. And the effect of that is to depersonalize the speakers. I think that was a petty decision on becoming a board of a public nature like this one is. You can change that right now, Madam Chair, by directing the camera to be directed at me and at the other speakers. And if you choose not to do so today, hopefully you will do so by the next meeting. My second point is this: what's happened to the attempt by transgender advocates to see how far they can push the envelope in their quest to pretend that boys and girls were all the same? There was a proposal that came before the board a couple of months ago to put all of them in the same sex ed classes. And since then, it seems to have fallen into a black hole. Inquiries about its status have gone unanswered, and people have offered various explanations for why this is so. But I think you have an obligation to take it up, discuss it on the record, and take a vote. And that way you'll be transparent. The advocates will know where you stand, and the public will know where it stands as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Samantha Phelps.
Howdy. I'm a teacher here in Fairfax County. This is my 11th year teaching and my 6th year here in Fairfax. Given that since the start of the school year, the county has lost over 350 teachers according to the quarterly personnel appointments and separations report, the proposed budget, you spent a great deal of time discussing staff compensation, specifically about how to best package and advertise to staff that FCPS truly does care about its employees, that between compensation and benefits, it truly is competitive compared to the surrounding divisions. I'm here to kind of help you in the sense of reminding you that there are other ways to tell us that you care. Besides monetary compensation, there's lots of ways to encourage staff, specifically teachers, to stay in FCPS, such as finding a way to hear directly from classroom teachers, or looking at your grading expectations of 9 grades per quarter. But with class sizes at the high school level being 5 sections, that calculates to about 80 hours of grading per quarter, or about 9 hours of grading per week. Yet we're only given 6.25 hours of planning time per week within which to grade papers with ample feedback, plan engaging in rigorous lessons with providing differentiation for exceptional students, design meaningful assessments that are graded on a well-designed and detailed rubric, attend curriculum team meetings and department meetings, supply data and narratives, or participate in 504 and IEP meetings for exceptional students, attend 30+ hours of mandatory trainings, engage in correspondence from students, colleagues, and parents, and design and implement intervention strategies. I'm urging you to examine some of the other policies, such as the 20-day elimination period for the short-term disability that I spoke to you about in December. By the way, I had my baby. She's adorable. Or leave without pay. I'm going to have to go on leave without pay because the 20-day elimination period killed all of my leave after 6 years.
Thank you. Agenda item 3.02,